Good afternoon and welcome to Developing Your Brand's Messaging in 1 Hour. My name's Dante St. James. This is a live session thanks to the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program, of which I am a part. We'll also be thanking a few other people along the way, but this is quite a long and not complicated, just involved. So it's going to require a little bit of participation from yourself. I'm not going to call you out or make you come onto the screen at any point, but you will be required to take some notes along the way to get the most out of this. And at the end, I'm going to give you a free offer to be able to send those notes into me so that I can then put this together into what your brand's messaging will be, or at least a suggestion from my point of view and getting to know your business of what you should do. There's no obligation with this. I'm already paid for by the government, so you don't need to be worrying about getting into a sales funnel or anything like that with me. As we get underway, I'm going to start with a quick quote from former British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli, who said once upon a time that talk to people about themselves and they'll listen for hours. And this is going to become particularly relevant as we dig down into what your actual customer or target customer is after and how they approach the approach to getting to your business, I suppose, where they're learning how to interact with your business and whether your business answers the questions that they do have. This is brought to you by Business Station and the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program. If you're joining us from WA, Business Station is your first point of contact. If you're joining us from Queensland, RDA Brisbane is your second point of contact. And if you're in the Northern Territory, where I'm currently broadcasting from, it's Treaty Business Consulting is the delivery partner of this particular federal government program. This will also be available on Business Station and my own YouTube channels a little bit later on today. They're getting really quick at putting these up, so it's always a race to see if Business Station or myself get the up there. What I do is all these webinars, I'm doing 5 of these a week, are all produced and then put on YouTube for you to watch later, which for this particular topic is going to be important because there's going to be stuff that you're going to want to go back and read over again. This is all based on, though, Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand book, and he's got a series of books, one called Marketing Made Simple. Both of them are brilliant. I originally came across this as a recommendation from another marketer who said this is the way to really get behind what your message as a brand is, as opposed to a brand being something like a logo or a set of colors. It's all about clarifying your messages so that customers will actually listen to what you have to say. And I must admit, as someone who's clarified my own message, and that of quite a number of businesses over this last 12 months since I came across this, it's made a massive difference in people being able to explain who they are, what they do, and what their unique selling proposition is, or what it is that they actually answer for their customer. I really wish that even the biggest corporations in the world would go through this. People a lot more successful than me, obviously, but this could be a great way of them getting a really good insight into what it is their business is all about and how that speaks to customers. What we're going to cover today is a bit about what your customer wants. We're going to look at what their problem is, what their thing is that they need solved. We're going to talk about you being their guide. That's going to make a bit more sense very shortly. We're going to look about what success is in your customer's eyes and what is the failure that they're trying to avoid and what their transformation is. Now, this sounds all very crystals and ding, 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 and a lot of that sort of thing going on. It's nothing that complex. It's nothing that airy-fairy. It's all about delivering an experience to deal with your business that's going to deliver them from being, whatever they were before to what they actually want to become, even if they're not really knowing that that's what's going on in their life. A bit about myself. I work a lot with Facebook Australia as a lead trainer, digital marketing associate, and various other certifications that I've got with them. Up until COVID, I got to travel around the countryside on behalf of Facebook to deliver training to small businesses in some very interesting places. Obviously, that's stopped now. It's all done online. I also work as a certified practicing marketer across a number of businesses that I consult to. I work with Google's Digital Springboard program, and my qualifications come, initially from the University of New South Wales, but I've also done some work with the Chartered Institute of Marketing from the UK and working directly with Facebook Australia and New Zealand through the Boost with Facebook program. Enough about me. This is what happened when I clarified my message using the brand story concept. I wish I actually had a copy of what it looked like before the front page of my website. I had no real clear picture about what it is I offered. I just said, here I am. I've got all these qualifications. Book me. And now it's very, very clear what I am. I'm Dante St. James. I transform confused and hesitant business owners into confident, capable marketers. And that's a very simple one-liner that explains to people what I do. So in your case, that's what we're trying to lead to, is to see what your one-liner and various other brand messages are going to be. Over this 1 hour, we're going to go from not really having any idea what that is to going to the movies to get a bit of inspiration about how this works. Now, I don't know if any of you have actually seen this movie, Eat, Pray, Love, starring Julia Roberts, but it's a story of transformation. It's a story about how a woman started off having a problem in her life. In her case, she was in a loveless marriage to a man she didn't love anymore and wondering what she was doing with her life, having achieved so much as an author and as I guess, a bit of a celebrity in a case, to wanting to get more out of life. So she needed to find a fix, and she hooked up with a guy who was a wild child who, sort of made everything about everything that she was about sort of set her on fire again. It was everything wrong for her, but she thought that was the fix she needed to get, until she decided that wasn't right either. So she went, I've got a problem here. I need it to get it solved. I'm going to go off journeying around the world to find what my problem is and to get the answers to my questions. She goes over to Rome at first, meets up with a Swedish tourist, very similar to herself, who's looking for her life. And this is her first guide, who gives her a plan, is to eat and just get bigger genes if you grow too big for your genes from eating too much, and a call to action, which is to, come on, live a little, enjoy the fruit of life. She then moves on to encounter more situations, such as she finds a guide over in an ashram where she does a lot of yoga and a lot of meditation in India, who gives her another plan, which is to shut up and stop talking in your own head, because the universe can't rush in until you empty yourself out. Then she goes finally to Bali, which is the love section of it. She finds another guide, Ketut, who gives her a plan and a call to action, which is basically, to say that love is okay. You can love again. Just don't be afraid of those things. You've got questions, answer them. Hungry, eat something. If you need spirituality, go and get some spirituality. Want love? Open yourself up to get love. This gives her the chance to get success and avoid failure. Now, if you've never seen this movie, it doesn't mean anything to you. This one probably means a lot more to you. Star Wars is a classic hero's journey, which is all about Luke Skywalker, a kid from a backwards planet till Tatooine, where nothing much really ever happens. He feels like he's got a sense of destiny in his life. He needs to solve a bit of a problem. He needs to be more than what he currently is. When the Empire comes and barbecues Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru in his home, he knows that he needs to fix this problem. It's now become quite urgent. So he finds Ben Kenobi, who is his guide. His guide then shows him something of a plan and says, okay, we can go and rescue the princess. We can go and take on the evil galactic empire because you're something more than this, and calls him into action. And that action is to rescue the princess, join the galactic rebellion, and destroy the Death Star, and to become a hero. His success is to become a hero. His failure would have been to just be another kid on a backwater planet whose caretakers has been killed, and he's just an angry kid on a platform in a poverty situation that never really changes his life. He's transformed from that kid to a galactic hero at the very end of it. Now, what has any of this got to do with your customers and yourself? Well, I guess, as business owners and people who run either the marketing or the brand control or something in your businesses or in your in the employee of your employers, you will be feeling like Luke Skywalker sometimes. You need to find that guide and all that. This is not you, though. You're not the hero. That's your customer. You're more like Ben Kenobi or Ketut, or like the Swedish tourist, or like the guy in the ashram in India. You're the guide to your customers. And how that works is that the standard character development of a movie goes currently like is a character who has a problem. They meet a guide who gives them a plan to address that problem and calls them into action to do what they need to do to address that problem, which gives them a successful outcome that helps them avoid failure, and they're transformed from something to something else at the end of that journey. For your customer, though, that's this. A customer has a problem. They meet you, the guide, who gives them a solution or a plan and reasons to use that leads them to solving the problem and getting success, whatever that is to them, and avoiding the results of failing to solve that problem, so that they too are somehow transformed. Now, they step into these situations, they don't know what any of this means. To them, it's nothing. They don't even consciously know that they have a problem. They just know that I need this solved. So when we talk about a business being in this, we need to break it down into each one of those journey steps. So we start off with the customer, who your actual customer is. So let's start off with the character or the customer. We've got to understand at the beginning of this, it's not about you or your business, it's about them. It's about the problem the customer is having. Is the customer is the hero of the story, not you. Now, there's other stories you can tell where you get to be the hero. In this particular case, you don't get to be the hero. And I'll go back to a story that was told in Donald Miller's book, Creating a Story Brand, which is all about a resort, a hotel and resort. They're all about taking magnificent photos of their refurbishment, their magnificent interiors, their amazing pool, their position, drone shots coming in overhead of showing the setting that they're in, beautiful buildings, amazing setup. But they just weren't connecting with customers. They weren't getting those bookings that they were hoping to get. When people come to their website, they just didn't seem to convert to anything. Once they put the brand script and the story brand principles in place, they came out at the end of it realizing that their customer was looking for one thing, not pretty buildings, not amazing vistas, and certainly not drone shots of a view of that resort that they're never going to actually see. They wanted to see what's in it for them. They were looking for luxury. This is a 5+ star resort after all, and they were looking for rest. These are people who are taking their 2 weeks American vacation every year to go to a special place. They wanted luxury and they wanted rest, and they wanted it in oodles. So taking photos of receptions, of beautiful buildings, drone shots showing the position, all that was doing nothing to help that person to put themselves in that position. In fact, one of the biggest problems they had is that this hotel and resort didn't take photos of people. They were concentrating on you wanting to mentally insert yourself into that. But the problem is, we see ourselves reflected in other people. I see myself reflected as sitting in that luxurious bed with a bottle of champagne in a bucket beside the bed, or in a spa, or I see myself in that luxury by seeing other people in that luxury, not just by seeing an empty bath or an empty bed that looks really nice with a swan folded out of towels on it. Looks great and all that. But when I really can imagine myself being in there, where I see someone else in there. And the brand messaging, the core one-liner that came about for this hotel was, find the luxury and rest you've been looking for. The most simple of one-liners, but it spoke to exactly what that particular client was after. And then out of that, then everything changed. They were starting to have conversions happening on their website. They simplified what they were doing. And the result of a brand story or a brand script is essentially that. It gives you a bit of a blueprint of how to address the things that are going on, particularly with your digital assets. So an example would be with a lawn mowing company saying that primarily on their website that 100% local with over 20 years of experience. The problem is then that there's nothing in that for the customer. They don't care that you're 100% local. They certainly don't care that you're over 20 years of experience. We have a feeling as small businesses that people care about us being local. The reality is we shop at Woolworths, which is not local. The reality is we'll go to IKEA, not local. We'll shop online on Amazon, again, not local. We have no loyalty to local. So that message of localism doesn't get reflected in the consumer experience. What they're looking for is a lawn that'll make their neighbors jealous. And having that message on there immediately speaks to their problem, not your feature. Again, would be the South Side's favorite L'Oreal salon. Who cares? People don't follow brands of beauty things unless they're using it themselves. They follow the ideas and experiences and the perception of the experience they're hoping to get, which is the perfect space to relax with your best friend. So if that's a way of getting people in, saying it's the South Side's favorite L'Oreal salon is really just appealing to a very small segment of people who are brand conscious about L'Oreal. The perfect space to relax with your best friend is almost a universal thing that women anywhere can relate to. They go, well, if I'm going to go to a treatment spa, I want to take my best friend because it's going to be an amazing experience. Another one could be a home delivered fruit and vegetable company. Fruit and veg boxes with a wide range of fresh fruit and vegetables. Yeah, that's great. 15 other people do that. I can get Hello Fresh and they deliver the whole meal kit for me if I want. Or you could say, no crowded shopping centers, just perfect fresh food delivered to you. Answering the question of what am I going to get? What's the benefit? No crowded shopping centers? Yes, please. Having just come through Christmas, the perfect fresh food so I can trust that it's going to be beautiful tomatoes, blemish-free apples delivered directly to me. I don't have to go and get it. Or in the case of someone who's like a lifestyle or mindset coach, unlocking your hidden potential for a life of freedom and success. that doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't solve a problem. Hidden potential is not a problem that I feel like I have. Freedom of success, well, they're lovely, but they don't really tell me the reality of what I'm going to have in my life. Freedom and success are vague ideas, but better relationships, better businesses, and a better life in every way, that speaks to me. That speaks to a customer who wants a better relationship, wants a better business, and wants a better life, as opposed to a very vacuous concept of unlocking hidden potential or wanting freedom or success. They're very, very generalized, very broad topics to talk about. But a better relationship, who doesn't want that? So we're going to start off with this. This is time for you to start taking some notes. I want you to look at, on the piece of paper in front of you or on the computer in front of you, however you do this best, and write down, what do you think your customers actually want as it relates to your product and service? So you might say, well, I work in an insurance company, and so I want to, they want insurance. Great. No one actually goes out there looking for insurance. They're going out there looking for what insurance buys them. Insurance buys peace of mind. So your customer really is looking for peace of mind, maybe in an uncertain world. Now you can see this in a lot of really good ads that are on TV or on any sort of medium where they really get inside the head of their customers. One that probably doesn't really hit the mark is the Commonwealth Bank at the moment, where they talk about the can thing. It's just such a nebulous concept that the average person can't really feel for it until they add a scenario, which is somebody who's trying to get ahead in life and wanting to do more. Although one very powerful particular campaign, I think NAB did it from a bank, was they were showing people who are running a food truck and showing how they have problems with cash flow and managing, things coming in, and their bookkeeping is all a mess. But there's this particular product that I think NAB or Westpac, one of the two of them, produced that made life a lot easier for them as a small business. So what we're looking for is that your customer's not coming to you necessarily to look for insurance or for cupcakes or for whatever it is you make or do. They're looking for something that's internal to them. So in insurance, it could be peace of mind. If you cut keys for a living, right? What they're looking for is access to their house. They're not looking for a key. It's going beyond the motivations of that. So jot that down quickly, what you think a customer is actually really after. There's no wrong answer here, because what I'll do is hopefully you'll be able to send me all these questions and answers after this, and I'll be able to then give you a bit of an assessment on how in the story brand methodology, you're able to turn this into your brand message. Moving on, your customer has a problem. The principle number 2 is that companies tend to sell solutions to external problems, but your customers buy solutions to internal problems. That's kind of like we're talking about with insurance. Companies are selling insurance, so they're selling a solution to what they think is it's a problem out there. But customers buy based upon emotional reactions, based upon internal problems they're having with this. Let's give that a bit of more of an example that makes sense. In every story, there's going to be a villain who there's going to be some external problem to be overcome, but there's also going to be an internal problem you need to overcome, and then a philosophical problem as well. So the villain is the Galactic Empire in Star Wars. The external problem is that there's all sorts of injustice happening, and people are in poverty, and the Empire is killing people when they shouldn't be killing people. The internal problem might be, I'm just sick of living on a backwater planet. I want to have more out of life. The philosophical problem is that it's not fair that Luke should be stuck on that planet, not participating in galactic affairs when he's obviously destined to do so much more. The villain, Galactic Empire. External problem can be, actually, let's take this out of the concept of Star Wars and into the concept of fruit. So the villain is that fresh fruit is expensive when you go to remote areas. The external problem is the cost of freight is making fresh produce expensive to get to that location. The internal problem is that it's making a customer feel quite powerless and at risk of poor health because they can't get fresh fruit at a reasonable price. And the philosophical problem is that it feels wrong because all of us deserve access to affordable fresh food. So you think of that, the villain in your business. What's the villain in your business? I was talking to a tour operator in Darwin earlier today, and their villain is that Darwin is generally perceived as quite a boring place to go to, not much to do. The external problem is that the understanding of what Darwin is based upon Kakadu and Litchfield National Park and things that are actually outside of Darwin, not things in Darwin itself. The internal problem is that a customer or a guest feels like they're kind of ripped off having to go to Darwin on this holiday because they were actually really wanting to go to Bali where there's so much to do. And this is philosophically unfair to the customer or to the guest because everybody who's paying to go on a holiday deserves to have access to things to do that are interesting. So with this particular tour operator, we're working on their brand script to answer that question. That's a really good example, actually. Or if you work in something like cosmetics, the villain is that it's difficult to find darker shades of foundation for darker skin. The external problem is that makeup companies, well, they like white skin. The internal problem is that this makes a customer feel like they're not normal because they're not catered for, because they don't have that light skin. And it's philosophically wrong because it's unfair that women of all kinds of skin types can't get hold of a makeup that suits them. Another example would be schooling for special needs kids. The villain is that it's difficult to find schooling for children with special needs. The external problem is that society tends to be geared towards those without special needs. The internal problem is that this makes a parent feel alone and unable to care for their child. And it's philosophically wrong because education should be available for all kids, regardless of their needs, special or otherwise. So we get into there and go, what is the villain, the external problem, the internal problem, and the philosophical problem that your customer has? So in your case, it could be that, and I'm going to take a real guess here, electrician. If you're an electrician, the root cause of your customer's problem is that it's expensive to get electrical work done. The external problem is that it's actually expensive to pay electricians because they're expensive people to employ. They've got lots of insurances and all sorts of things they have to do, and they have to make money to live on. Internally, it's making a customer feel like they can't get the work done they need to get done because it's too expensive. And this is philosophically wrong because people are going to get dodgy wiring. They're going to actually try and look for all sorts of alternatives around it. They're going to load up tons of power boards that are going to potentially cause them bigger electrical problems because they feel that they can't afford to get an electrician in there. So that could be the story behind your problem. So I want you to write down now who the villain is in your particular business's story. And it could be a person, it could be COVID-19, whatever it is that you believe that is. Now, don't worry too much if this is moving too fast for you, because it is a very blisteringly fast webinar. We will be going through this once you send me your basic answers, and I'll send you through everybody who's participating today will be sent through the paper, not the paperwork for this, but like an assessment sheet to go through for this so they can fill that out for themselves. And you can watch this again on YouTube later on too, remember. Moving on to meeting the guide, they're meeting you. Number 3, customers aren't looking for another hero, they're looking for a guide. In this principle, we talk about the experience of Tidal, the high fidelity music streaming service by Jay-Z and various other people. I think Kanye was involved in there at a moment, and Beyonce, of course, being the wife of Jay-Z. What Tidal was, and its problem that it had, is that it was all about respecting the music, respecting the artist and paying them what they're due. The artist getting control of the process and control of the proceeds of what's coming in. The problem was that that wasn't of any relationship to what a customer wants. High fidelity music, yes, better quality audio, that might be a customer out there who's very important to that. Not many of them, but there's some. Exclusive releases, having exclusive access to music from Beyonce that's not available anywhere else could be a great way of looking at this. Instead, though, Tidal made the mistake of making it all about them, about respecting us, respecting the artist, paying us. Now, when you're worth a couple of $100 million as an artist, it's very hard for the general public to feel a lot of empathy for you because you're a poor artist not getting paid your dues. You clearly are getting paid your dues. Now, there's an argument that says, yes, not everyone's Taylor Swift, not everyone's Jay-Z. Most people are just struggling musicians trying to get by in the world. This doesn't really help them much because it doesn't provide any sort of promotional opportunity for those artists. So all those arguments are kind of cast aside. When it comes to the customer, this was tone deaf because exclusive releases and better quality audio were great features to have, but they were not things that anyone was asking for. They weren't answering a question or a problem that anyone has. And as such, Titleists have really, really struggled to gain an audience. It doesn't grow. It's kind of not really a great money-making venture. And I'd say within a couple of years, it probably won't even be around again. So to become a guide that's able to provide something that people need to answer the questions that they have, and that's what you're going to be as a business owner and as a consultant as well, you're going to be a guide. To do that, you have to have some empathy. You have to help your customer win the day. You have to help Luke Skywalker go from being the backwoods kid to being a hero. You got to help Julia Roberts' character in Eat, Pray, Love, going from being someone who just can't possibly eat any pasta or a beautiful Napoleon pastry without feeling terrible about herself. You can be the guide that helps them feel better about herself. So empathy is that first thing. And we're going to look at how that sort of plays out in your business shortly. Now, understanding some empathy is understanding what your customer actually wants, what their problems actually are. So if we look at this, supporting a local business and we loving what we do and roasting our own coffee are all features that we have as a cafe. We think are great. Roasting our own coffee, that's fantastic. We're artisan, we're supporting, we're local. We love what we're doing. It's shown on the smile of our faces and how proud we are of every cafe latte we produce. No one cares. What they do care about though, is that you're close to their home or close to their work. It's easy to park. You can get in, you can get out. You don't have to wait forever. The meals are there in that cafe you know and love. You can get that almond croissant that you love, and it's there every single day of the week, just like clockwork. And it's a sort of place where you can have a conversation with someone and you can actually hear what the other person's saying. You can tell I'm middle-aged by bringing that one up. This is what people care about. They don't care about you loving what you do or roasting your own coffee. It just doesn't matter to the majority of people. A very small amount of very, very artisan loving people will love the coffee. And there's some places in Sydney and Melbourne which are amazing for doing this, but they're not particularly hugely successful and they can only sort of get a few people in. They're an artisan business. They're not really looking for a massive different growth. An example for a mechanic would be your one-stop repair shop, family owned over 3 generations with a 21-point checklist. Woohoo. No one cares. What they care about is you have same-day service for your repairs. They'll pick you up and drop you off at work. How amazing. A loan car available so you can still get about and have a normal day. Or, if it's only a really short thing, come and grab a coffee. We'll make you a coffee while you wait. That's the experience that the customer's after. They don't care that you're in fact, what does it even mean, a one-stop repair shop? Is anything really truly a one-stop business? Family owned for over 3 generations. So few people are going to care about that. They just want the job done. The fact that it's a 21-point checklist or a 48-point checklist or a 372-point checklist, these are things that are constantly brought up by people who are advertising small mechanical businesses when same-day service, loan car available, and grabbing a coffee while you're waiting speaks to me as a consumer. What's in it for me? Now you've got the empathy and you're understanding what's actually behind what your customer really wants and how they think and how they feel, then we start moving on to your credibility, your authority in your market, why they should trust you to deliver that. And I'll use the same 2 examples. We've got our cafe that they may want to add in further down on their website or on their social media or in their pitch somewhere that they happen to be a gold plate award winner. They may be COVID safe. They've got their accreditation. You can do the check-in. Those are all things that add to the credibility and the safety and authority of that particular cafe. They may be a member of the Australian Hotels Association or even a local chamber of commerce, something like that. They may have even been able to achieve their famous 5 stars on TripAdvisor. That's always a good thing as well. Now, not that necessarily that people are going to choose them based on that, but once you've answered the question of what someone's after, you add in a little bit of this credibility, this bit of authority, and you've got quite a powerful reason for someone to choose you over someone else. Gold plate award winner who understands that I need easy parking. A COVID safe environment where I can actually hear my friends speaking. I'm a member of an AHA, so they've got a certain code of ethics and standards they have to follow. Plus, they're open 7 days, so I can go there anytime I like. 5 stars on TripAdvisor, that's great. What's even better is they've got the same food every day, so I know what I'm going to get. That's why McDonald's is so popular and so successful, is that it answers a lot of these questions for you. Wouldn't it be amazing if more local small businesses could answer these questions as well? The example of the mechanic is they only use Valvoline oils. That on itself is not really that much of a deal. But It's also possible that you know what Valvoline is, you've heard of it, you trust it. Even if you've never used it, you kind of feel like it's something you can trust. Well, having that on there adds another little bit of an element to you to help you along that way. If you're an RACWA, RACQ, or ANT approved mechanical business, add that in there as well, because you are someone who does same day service, but you're also approved by these motoring associations. It sounds like you've actually someone that can be trusted to deliver on what you say you're going to deliver. If you're a Chamber of Commerce member, you're also probably subjected to certain code of ethics or a code of service that you're accountable to that particular Chamber of Commerce to uphold and maintain. Otherwise, you can be complained against and kicked off that chamber. So those kind of industry memberships can add to that extra little bit of something. As long as you're expressing the empathy and you're understanding what someone really wants, then you can add in the authority and that credibility as well. That just, it's all like, here's the cake and here's the cream on top of that cake as well. So now, if you can, write down your empathy. What is the one thing you can say to a customer about your particular business or offering that expresses that you understand who they are and what they want? Is it something like, I have free parking available for 2 hours so you can come and see me, but you can also do a little bit of shopping as well? That could be important to someone who's your customer. You'd know this stuff because you talk to them all the time. So think about what their problems are that they report to you. What are the things they complain about? What are those things that you think, oh, geez, all I need to do is get a stupid Nespresso pod machine in here and I could probably solve a lot of problems with people waiting around because they can have at least a nice coffee. It doesn't have to be a Nescafe Blend 43. If that's the statement you can make about your customers and servicing them. And then what can you do to demonstrate that you're competent in solving a customer's problem? If you're an accountant, being a CPA could be or a chartered accountant, having that certification could be very important to you. For me, it's having certifications and being one of only 7 Facebook accredited trainers in Australia that helps me to be able to very easily slide into someone's DMs, for want of a better term, as saying, well, I'm someone who can train you on Facebook because Facebook are trusting me and accrediting me to actually do this stuff on their behalf. So those are the kind of things. What are the pieces of credibility you have, and jot those down, as well as the statement you can make to your customers. And there might be 7 of them. You might have a few of them that helps you to let them know that you understand where they're coming from and what it is they're truly after and what they need to solve. Now we're moving on to the plan. The plan to go and save the galaxy and to save Princess Leia from the Death Star. Customers trust a guide who has a plan for them. You have a quick sip of water. Your plan is what's going to get them from where they are to what they want. So if that is they want to get their car fixed, here's the plan that you can go about to get your car fixed with me, and you fully understand it and you trust the process as much as you trust me as being credible enough to be able to deliver the fixing of your car. So let's look at you if you're a coach, NLP coach, mindset coach, even a coach of a basketball team, or if you're someone who trains other people. What are the basic steps that you take a client through? So is there something, say, for instance, first, we're going to take you through an initial consultation, a discovery call. And in that discovery call, we're going to find out enough about you so I can design a program around that. Then what I do within 2 weeks is deliver you a program that's going to help you get there. After that, you just say, yes, I'm going to do it, or no, I'm not going to do it. And then finally, we get that plan underway. But there's more. We're going to then measure it along the way. So for a coach, it's about saying, do we meet weekly? Do we meet monthly? I just met with someone before this call who we're now going to do a weekly catch up because she wants to do what I do in life. So I thought, well, the best way to do that is to show you how I do it and come and sit with me for an hour a week. Or do you meet with them once a month to have some kind of call? How do you measure whether this person's getting value for money? How do you measure that they're actually getting what they think they're paying for? And what accountability is there in that? So if I catch up with Megan, her name was, if I catch up with her weekly, how is she going to measure whether she's actually getting good value for money for that weekly catch up? Because she's spending a bit of money to do that. Is there accountability that says, look, if you don't feel like you're learning anything, you're not getting a result, my accountability could be, look, I'll throw in another free session for you because you're already paying me so much. Come in and we'll sit down and work this out. What is the accountability you've got in place? If you're not a coach, let's say you're a catering business. How does your customer engage with you? Do they book you online? Do they call you? Do they just walk into your shop front and say, hey, I want my wedding catered for? How do they choose the food that's going to be in the catering? Or can they even choose the food? I wouldn't even know what to do with a caterer. I just call up the local pub and say, can you make me some platters? How do you arrange the delivery? Do they deliver it to you? Do they set it up on tables for you? Do they provide the plates? Do they provide the cutlery? And how do they arrange picking up all their stuff afterwards? Are they going to clean it up for you, take all the dishes away? What's the story there? So it's working out how someone engages with you to deliver what it is you do, because it's not always completely clear. One of the best experiences I had was when I was traveling in America in 2014, back before America turned into what America is now. And I was traveling on my own, just on my own, to go and explore these places. Now, quite often I got to places and wanted to do experiences. I had no idea what I was meant to do. But one thing that was very abundantly clear from New York food tours is that they gave me a step-by-step of everywhere we're going to go in case I didn't make the first meeting. They told me who I was going to call if I get lost, how I'm going to catch up with them, where I'm going to meet, and what that person's going to be wearing. For someone who's from a little town like Darwin and going out to a big place like New York City, walking around trying to find a tour guide who's going to take me on a culinary adventure, it made me feel great that I knew exactly who I was looking. In fact, I saw the photo of the guide and I could go, I just need to look for that person in that particular uniform at this time, at this location, and I'll get there. And it made it so much easier to do. You'll be surprised how many tours and how many tourism experiences don't give you that kind of level of ease of engagement. They'll just go, yeah, we do these trips 3 times a day. Just drive down the road, mate, and we'll just, yeah, she'll be right. Definitely not the way it goes. Consider that people are really dumb, or consider that they're all 4 years old, and give them all the information they need to do to be able to make sure this is an easy, safe feeling experience for them. Doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't just make it tour guides. It can be someone who's providing a service, someone who's building a website. If you're looking at the marketing program or the marketing strategy for someone, how do they engage with you and what are the steps you go through? And having what is called a standard operating procedure is so valuable to this. If you can go, this is exactly what we're going to do. And they go, oh, okay. And they got all the dates in there of when it's going to be done by. That's fantastic. I feel like I can trust that. It makes sense. An accountant is an example of this. What is it that you do and don't do? So you're someone who works with Xero only, or do you work with QuickBooks, MyOb, Reckon, other particular pieces of software? Do they do the bookkeeping side of it? Do they even explain that there's a very big difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant? They do very different parts of your financials. What do they need me to do? Do you need me to sign up for Receipt Bank and for Xero, or are you going to do all that for me? How do I know if this particular person's doing anything at all? My bookkeeper's fantastic. Michael tells me exactly what he was going to be doing, what he's not going to do, and how it all works. And the beautiful of that is that he then gives me an opportunity to be able to see, oh, wow, this is how I work with you. This is how I can then go and check on his work. I can log into Receipt Bank at any time and see he's been updating all the published receipts in there and matching them to what they're meant to be, so they get reported back to Xero in the right way. I can go through Xero and he gives me tasks. He says, mate, I need you to go and see if that's been paid because I can't see it in your account. So I'm going, oh yeah, they're dropped into the other account. Okay, cool. I'll update that for you. So it's one of those things where he gives me a very clear charter of exactly what he does and what he doesn't do. And then my accountant, Amanda, does the same thing. She gives me the clear cut way of what she does and how that differs to what my bookkeeper does. What I find is really helpful is that when you give a product or a plan or some kind of engagement that you're doing with someone a name. So for instance, if you're working in websites, you're building websites for a living, you can have the basic plan. Now, you know, in the basic plan, you're going to have a very basic set of things that are going to be included. If you do the business growth plan, you know that there's going to be a lot more to that than the basic plan. Or if you do the super duper hyper deluxe plan, you know you're probably going to get everything in it, right? Having a more meaningful descriptive name for a plan, better than gold, silver, bronze, any of that, is probably a lot better because it helps people imagine what's in that plan and they see where they sit with it. So something like a more meaningful life in 4 steps is a great way of what that plan's going to be. You're going to deliver a plan to your client that's called a more meaningful life in 4 steps. Or if you're a mechanic, Your plan for them could be called a safer car in 4 hours. Now, I'm not saying produce a flyer that says a safer car in 4 hours. It's a way of delivering that as a plan of engagement on your mechanic's website. Your path forward could be, do you want a safer car in 4 hours? We can do that for you. Here's how you do it. It could be a perfectly catered event in just 3 steps. So that engagement of what they're going to find from you on their website, if you're a caterer, is something that's really not. Now you find here, these plans are all around about a result and a time frame. And that's really important for a plan, because it's not just about getting the result of being happier in life. Saying you're going to be happier within 90 days gives you something to go, okay, that's great. I can see myself. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'll be happier. Or a better financial position in just 60 days. Let someone know that they can expect that they're going to be in a better position within 60 days. So it gives them something to measure against, makes them feel more comfortable knowing that you're accountable to that. And it also gives you something to be accountable for, rather than just sort of floating around in the nebulous ether and going, oh, I do a bit of this, oh, I'll do a bit of that, oh, I'll do a bit of everything else. You want to make it so people understand that you are accountable to produce results, and that helps them to trust you that little bit more. So your plan, what are the 3 or 4 steps that a customer has to take to engage you or to buy something from you? Even if that result is, look us up on Google to find out where we are, come to the store and ask at the front counter for that particular product. If that is your step towards getting a customer to buy from you, that is completely valid. You can use that. That's an actual standard operating procedure for a customer to engage with you as a retailer. Yours might be a little bit more of a consultation process. So you might go, number 1, you need to book a discovery call with me on my website. Great. Select the time and date that works for you. We will call you based upon your contact details, and then we're able to begin that process. If that's your particular one, note it down. You may have more than that, but you really want to get it down to 3 or 4 steps, because that's what's easy to explain in social media and on a website. Once you get to 17, 18 steps, it looks too hard. It's too hard to deal with you. If it really does take that many steps, and it has to because of regulatory problems or legislative requirements, then that's okay. Just try to bundle it in together so it's down to 3 or 4 major areas of steps. So it might take 17 steps to get there, but what are the 4 groupings of steps that you could make that down to? And then what are the agreements? What are the guarantees that people have that help alleviate their fears of doing business with you? Do you have to deliver things within a certain amount of time? Is there a money back guarantee? Is there some way that you're accountable to provide the service or the product that will help someone feel much more safe about dealing with you? So write those down. See if you can get those down that piece of paper, and we'll collect all those at the end as well. And again, don't worry if you're missing this. We are moving quite fast through this. This is usually an all-day workshop. So we're just looking at the overview of this, and I'm going to ask for your details at the end, or I'm going to reach out to you at least. I can see who's in there and who's actually attended. In fact, I might actually take a screenshot of who you all are so I know who to reach out to, because we had over 60 people registered for this. So it's very interesting to see who actually turned up and who's going to watch later on YouTube. Now we step into this next step. The guide is going to call the customer into action. Now, customers are a bit monkey see, monkey do, in that they don't tend to take an action on a point or on an opportunity unless they're actually challenged to take that action. In the case of Luke Skywalker, he was challenged to take that action because of a princess who was very beautiful being projected out of R2-D2 saying, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. So that was the step that got them out there. An example would be this great movie, Rain Man. If you remember this movie, you're probably as old as me. The character played by Tom Cruise would not have picked up the character played by Dustin Hoffman if he didn't get that call that their father had died. That was the call to action, is that you need to come and pick up your brother because your dad has died and can't take care of your brother anymore. It was a beautiful look inside the world of autism and savant syndrome that actually helps to understand and have some empathy for people of different neuro programming or different, what they call it, neurodiversity. So in this case, the call to action was your father's died, you have to pick up your brother. It wasn't very much like, oh yeah, we'd kind of like it if you came in and sort of like saw your brother and sort of built a relationship with him. The call to action was your dad's died, you need to pick up your brother and take care of him now. I like this movie, and this one really stands out to me because this is the classic hero's journey. Legally Blonde. Elle Woods, played by the incomparable Reese Witherspoon, wouldn't have applied to Harvard in this particular movie if a boyfriend hadn't dumped her. Her call to action was, my boyfriend dumped me because he said I'm not appropriate and I'm dumb. So she's like, well, I'm not dumb. I can become a lawyer. And she went and became a lawyer in it. And the story is hilarious, but it is actually a story of your customer going from transformed from being perceived as dumb and vacuous to being someone who's powerful, complicated, complex, very competent, and also completely successful and overcoming any of those barriers that got in their way. And these are kind of calls of actions we're going to have there. We think of calls of action, think of call now, book now, buy this, do this. Do it now. There's only 7 until it's sold out. Limited time only is also a very powerful call to action. So the idea is to figure out what your call to action is. If your call to action is book a discovery call, that's what your call to action is on your website or on your social media. You know, on your Facebook business page, you've got a call to action button there. Most people just don't bother dealing with it. They go, oh, just message us or visit the website. You can go a bit further and have a book now in there, see menu, download app, all those kind of calls to action according to what it is your business delivers. People are not going to buy until they ask you to. Now you say, oh yeah, but people walk into my shop all the time and buy stuff. Yeah, that could be very true. They represent a very small selection of the people in the world who could potentially buy your issue or buy your solution or book your service. If you give people a reason, you can educate them all the way in the world. You can, get all the empathy you want out of them and understand them. But until you actually ask them to buy something, they're probably not going to buy something from you. If you believe in your product, if you believe in your service, then you're going to be finding it easy to ask someone to buy it. I can say that I believe in this particular process, the story brand process and the brand scripting process. So for me, at the end of this, to say, please email me with your details so that I can do this for you, is because I believe in the ability of this particular program to really help. And I don't get anything out of this because, as I said, the federal government's already paying me for this. So I don't have to make money out of this. For me, it's more about going, well, I believe in the process. Therefore, I do not have any problem at all to ask you for your email address, because basically it's up to you if you want to get some free value out of this or not. If you don't believe in what it is you're selling, if you don't believe in the service you're providing, customers will sense this and they'll run away from you in the other direction. It's something that they're not going to be able to have any sort of trust in what you're doing if they believe that you don't trust it. I used to have this problem. It's called Imposter Syndrome, right? Where I used to think, who the hell am I to be producing these things across Australia? Who the heck am I to stand up in front of a crowd of 250 people at a conference and teach them how to suck eggs, or in my case, how to use Facebook for business? Who the hell am I to be able to do any of this? If you don't believe in this, you can't sell this. If you don't believe in what you do, what your business is, what your service is, what your product is, you cannot expect anyone else to do this as well. So the minute that you get past all that imposter syndrome, and that's a whole other webinar to be doing, wow, you'll be able to do so much more, and you'll be able to very easily convince people how to engage with you and why they should engage with you, because why wouldn't they? You believe in it, you're charismatic enough to carry it off. Boom, you've got a customer coming through the door. Direct call to action can be something like a buy now button, or something saying book now, shop now, order now, let's go. Be colloquial, just be direct when it's coming to that next step that someone needs to take, whether it's on a landing page that's leading towards you getting someone to book your appointments, or whether it's something that's going to have someone come in and potentially get you to buy a specific product on the shelf. Having this buy one, get one free is also a call to action that you can put in there. Or it can be, we only have limited stock, get yours now. That is an appropriate and very valid call to action in a retail environment. So it doesn't matter where you're in, as long as you have some kind of clear call to action. Now, there's a particular way that story brand and brand scripting actually helps you to build a website. And I'm in the moment in the middle of rebuilding mine to suit this particular program as well. It means a very simple website with a very simple message. It's really easy to go from not knowing who you are to knowing who you are, trusting who you are, and wanting to book with you, or at least buy that thing. It's going to be really hard to do this for retail because we have a very set format that we do for retail, but it works for retail as well. And there's thousands of businesses that Donald Miller and his mob have worked with that know that this is something that can actually work for any kind of business, big or small. But if someone's not ready to yet, treat it as a transitional call to action. Now, transitional call to action is, okay, something that's less about, okay, I know you're not ready to book with me now. What I wanted you to do is like, basically just give me your email address so I can send you some more details so you can feel a bit more comfortable about this one. Once you've got the email address, you've got permission to be able to not spam the crap out of them, but to be able to at least send the material that supports the journey from becoming someone who doesn't deal with you to becoming a paying customer. Think of it like marriage. You walk up to someone and say, will you marry me? They'll say no. Will you go out with me again? Oh yeah, maybe let's go out and have dinner again. Great. You have dinner. Will you marry me now? Customer's like, no, I'm not going to marry you yet. Don't know who you are. Will you go out with me again though? Yeah, sure. You're interesting and the information you provide is helpful. So you go out for that third date. Will you marry me? Yeah, I'm going to marry you now. I know enough about you. Now, that's a very simplified way of looking at a customer relationship or a personal relationship. I've got to plenty of third dates in my life, and I certainly still haven't married anybody. So think of it more as a customer. Will you buy my thing? The customer says no. Will you maybe, is it okay if I send you an email with a bit more detail? And oh yeah, no worries, do that. Okay, then you ask them in the email, so do you want to buy my thing now? And they're like, no, I don't want to. Okay, well, if you don't want to do that, how about I send you this free little white paper that's got more information about how to get more out of what you've currently got without spending extra money. Oh, great, yeah, send that with me. That'd be great. Then you ask them again in 3 days' time or a week's time or 3 months' time and say, hey, will you buy my thing? And they go, yeah, actually I will, because you've been really helpful and you've answered a lot of my questions. And I've actually now got the need for this particular thing. Yeah, I will buy your thing. A transitional call to action is beyond that whole buy now, book now, see menu, download, buy. It's not those particular calls to action. It's the stuff in between. So when they're not ready to buy the thing from you or book you, the transitional call to action could be drop your email address in here and I'll send you more details. It could be here, follow this link to a video where I've got more information about how this can help change your life. Any of that kind of stuff is what we call a transitional call to action. And that's part of building out your brand's story. So what is the direct call to action that you can have for your business? Is it buy now, book now, download, install app, visit? What is the particular call to action that's very strong for your business? And if someone's not ready to buy your thing or book you your time or book your service, what is a transitional call to action that you might be able to try out? So is your transitional call to action something like drop your email in, book a discovery call? Now, booking a discovery call is a lot less scary than booking my service. So a transitional call to action on the way to getting someone to book your service could be book an obligation-free 1-hour consultation where we'll go through what it is you're looking to get out of your time, out of your life, how you want to save time, how you want to save money, how you want to grow a new business, anything like that. What is your direct call to action? And what do you think a transitional call to action can be for you? Moving on now to where we're going to help your customer to avoid failure and end the story with success, because everyone's afraid of a tragic ending to their lives and to their journey, and they have no idea just how much you can change their life for the better. So you've got to tell them how you can actually change their life for the better. I'm going to talk to you about the fear of missing out, FOMO, or the fear of loss. You find a $100 note in the street. You go and pick it up and you go, oh, great, cool. I'm going to shout myself dinner tonight, really fancy dinner. I'm going to go to the casino and get dinner. Go to the buffet maybe. You can tell what a bogan I've been in the past. Your $100 note is gone and forgotten about within a day or two, right? It was great. It was a fun thing to experience. You felt a little bit of a bit of a buzz about it, but you forget about it pretty quickly. But I tell you now, if you lost $100 out of your pocket, you're the person who lost that $100, you're going to stew about that for a lot longer. Human nature is that we're a lot more greatly motivated by a fear of losing something than the joy of gaining something. So you see this in a lot of in entrepreneurs, you see in a lot of very successful business people, the fear of losing the business or losing market share is a far greater motivator than the gaining of extra customers, the gaining of extra money. It becomes a game of not so much gain, it becomes a game and gain. Don't do that too often. If it's a game of preventing others from taking what's yours. Now, this can be point it out in something like, for instance, a statement such as, you, the customer, are vulnerable to this threat. So you should take this particular action to avert that threat. You should also follow these instructions on how to avoid that threat and take the action now to avoid that threat. You're vulnerable to a threat, number one. So you're telling someone there's a threat there that they're vulnerable to. The second thing is that you should take action in order that this doesn't happen to you. And now here's how you take action so it doesn't affect you. And now take the action to avoid that threat. That's the call to action. I'm going to talk about this in terms of now termites. You're vulnerable to a problem in that termites can damage your home, costing you tens of thousands of dollars at least. I've had people who've had a lot worse than that. You can do something about it now and save your home. So start with a termite check to make sure you're okay, so you know if you are safe. Call today to book your inspection. Number one is a threat that you're vulnerable to. Number two, there is something that can be done for you to offset that vulnerability and be safe. Number three, here's what you need to do in order to eliminate that threat. Number four, do it now. Eliminate that threat. The call to action. There's and you will recognize this in ads all over the world. You'll recognize it in TV ads, radio ads, scripts on websites, copywriting that's been done for you on marketing pieces of paper. Like, this is such a common way to write. It's just not often explained as a very effective way to write, because we almost will do this anyway. But when you break it down into these particular steps, you have a threat that you're vulnerable to. You can do something about that threat. Here's what you can do. Now do it. That is a really powerful way to write out how someone engages with you. You can live a life that is completely purposeless and devoid of any sort of joy, but you can do something to change that. You can book in a session with me, your lifestyle and relationships coach, and that will help you to be a happier person. So book your discovery call now so that you will be a happier person. You won't have that horrible, joyless life. Or it could be that storms in Southeast Queensland are destructive and cost millions of dollars every year. You are vulnerable to this living in Southeast Queensland, but you can do something about it. Start off by getting a free insurance assessment on what we can do to help you to make sure that you're safe when the bad stuff comes. Book now and we'll give you a call back. So depending on what the particular vertical or particular industry you're in, this particular format is a very powerful way of getting across what the problem is that your customer could have. The fact that there is a solution to it, which makes them feel better, that here's what you have to do to get that solution, to finally saying, do it, get the solution. Ask them, because remember, humans, monkey see, monkey do. We don't quite know to do something until we're told to do it. So what are the negative consequences of somebody not using your product or service, not buying what you're selling, or not using your particular service? You don't have to have a big list. Just think of in terms of 2 or 3. What are the negative things that will happen if someone doesn't buy your product or doesn't use your service? Real estate agent could be, if they don't use you, they don't tap into your network of potential clients that are ready to buy a new home. If you're selling skincare products, the potential could be that your skin is not going to look as good as it's going to look. So your skin can look better. So here's what you can do about it. You can explore our skincare range and see what suits you. Finally, go there now, buy now, or shop now. So just work out what the negative consequences are, and also the positive changes that will occur in someone's life as a consequence of using your product or service. Will they be happier? Will they be more together? Will they be more organized? Will they be richer? Will they be feeling more safe in their own home? Will they understand that if the worst scenario happens, that they're going to be okay? What are the positive things will happen if that particular person does take advantage of your product or of your service. Now, I don't expect you to have filled all this out. This is why I'm going to, you're going to get sent the link to the YouTube video a little bit later today. I'm also going to ask you though, that you do send me your email address, not so I can spam you, but so that you can send me the notes that you have taken. So it can be today, tomorrow, on the weekend, whenever you do it. If you email me through those details, I'm going to send you back the assessment of what I believe your brand script and brand story could possibly be as a really good starting point. We've got 24 people left on this. There was 27 at one point, I think, they were on this particular call. So there's, I can make the time to do that over the weekend to be able to write back to that many people and do their assessments. It's not going to cost you anything. I'm not going to ask you to buy anything. As I said, the government's already paying for me if that all works. All we really need you to do is just send me that so I can send you back the assessment. So fill out those particular areas. That's my email address, dante@treety.com.au. I'm just going to type that into the chat window so you can just copy and paste it if you need to. But you need to do this in the next minute or so because we're about to end this particular session. So there is my email address. Please use it. Please send me the request to get your particular brand script analyzed based upon your answers to those questions. These slides, although I can't necessarily send you these slides straight away, but you can actually go to a particular address, and I'm going to bring that up at the moment. It's mystorybrand.com. I'm going to put this into the chat window, and this will give you the actual online workbook to work this through. So if you go there, mystorybrand.com, you sign in with your name, your email address, the mother's maiden name, all the information they're asking for. It's not much. It gives you an actual process to work through to fill that out. So you can actually do that, print it out and send it to me, and I'll be able to help you work that out as well. So the workbook doesn't actually give you the answers. It doesn't give you the brand script at the end of it. That's what you need a brand script consultant to do. I'm in the process of doing my consultation certificate in February, I think it is, where I'm doing the 2-day training program. So I know what to do. I know how to do it. I just got to be certified for it. So as I said, not going to cost you anything. I'm not going to put you in a sales funnel. It's just a really good way to help get some clarity on how this particular process works. So you can get a better grasp upon what your message is that has to go out to your customer so they know they can trust you, they know that they can work with you, and they know that they're able to do something more with you and feel safe about doing it. Please use that email address, and I'm hoping to hear from you again. This will be on YouTube a little bit later today. Just search for me or search for Business Station, and you'll find this a little bit later on today, ready to go on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate so many of you taking so much time out to do this, and I can't wait to see what some of those plans are you've got so I can send you back a kick butt version of a brand story that you can use. Thank you so much, and have a great afternoon.